Well, good morning, folks. I hope that you can all hear me. Can I ask you to just indicate that you can by typing into your box, please, where you can see messages? If you could just indicate that you can hear, just a yes or some other indication. Uh, I I'm not sure whether folks can hear me. Could you kindly? Good. Yes, they're all coming in now. Many thanks. It's always a bit worrying when you're doing these things that you might be talking to the ether or to vapor. And so it's always good, should you ever do one, to ask that question. I did once do a webinar, and for about the first 5 minutes, nobody could hear a thing. So wasn't terribly successful. Anyway, here we are. And I'm delighted to be here this morning. I'd love to say that it's a fine morning and everything's hunky-dory, but the weather outside, if you're in the UK or Ireland, you will be aware that it's blowing, it's windy, it's raining, and it's miserable. But that's not how we're going to be on today's webinar. So, whoops. What we're going to do is we're going to get this thing started, and to do that, I need to just click on here so that we are all set. And just expand this out for you. So just bear with me. Okay, so, oops, we don't want that, do we? Let me just get rid of that. One of the funny things I'll tell you about that we've had issues with using this particular program, which is GoToWebinar, is that for some reason the controller, that's me in this case, can't see the control panel. As you can all see, you got a little control panel on your screen. I've got a much larger one, which means I can do all sorts of things and see things and whatever. But if I click, because this is a Mac and I'm using something called Keynote, if I click on the play button on Keynote, it hides my panel. And I've looked for ways around it, can't find it. So there you go. If anybody knows the answer, do let me know. But for now, everyone can hear, so I'm delighted about that. And the webinar has started. So welcome along. As I say, it's delightful to have you all here. We've got a good turnout, and I dare say we'll have a couple more. So what's it all about? Well, many of you already know the answer to this. This is all about how you can become an in-demand and high-income business consultant. And I mean to prove that very point here to you today, because this pretty much is an expose. It's a deep look into consulting and how people are making 6 and 7 figures. So I aim to give you a lot of information, a lot of techniques on a lot of know-how. So this is insider stuff, and it's made me, and as you will see, many other consultants that I've trained over the years, a lot of money. I mean, I'm delighted to say, very proud to say, that off the top of my head, I can think of 8 or 9, maybe 10 people, top of head, that I know are now multimillionaires that were in a position perhaps similar to you right now until they learnt this stuff and they came on a course and they went out there and used all of the tools. So it's brought me a lot of career success, and I'm hoping that it's going to do that for you as well. It's tremendously satisfying, this profession. If you've been involved in coaching, you'll know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and indeed consulting. But we're going to take this in this webinar to a whole different level so that you too can go out and earn 6 and 7 figures. And I'm going to show you how we go about doing that. And so this really is an educational webinar, and I want you to leave here with a blueprint to success in consulting. Now, at the end of the webinar, I'm also going to give you some more information on how you can learn more, on how you can get all of these tools where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we'll talk about that later on. But first of all, I really do want to fulfill my promise of giving you lots of valuable knowledge, how you can get into this world of 6 and 7 figure consulting, and indeed decide if what you want to do is move into the consulting business. Now, you might already be in consulting, of course, or indeed coaching. And a lot of folks that actually come along to our courses, that join us as licensees, are already in the consulting business and or coaching business. But what they're doing just isn't working to the level that they'd like, and so they want to learn more. They want to get some of these tools. They want to know how to do it. But as I say, it's my intention that you're going to get a lot of stuff on here today, as you can see on the screen: tips, tools, success strategies, and perhaps some inspiration as well. But this is not a hype session. It's not get rich quick. So let's put all that stuff aside. You can certainly get rich, as you're about to find out, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a few nights. Actually, I'm joking, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. So there's a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about here that, to my knowledge, hasn't been made available before. And I think it's fair to say, looking around the industry, that the reason for that is there's a lot of people out there that are teaching coaching and consulting, but they don't know this stuff. And they certainly don't like to give it away if they do, because it forms the core. So, part of the reason I do this, part of the reason I give all this this stuff away as we do, is so that you can see that there really is a way of fulfilling your dreams in this industry. And also, I think it indicates to you, as you'll see, that we've got a whole lot more as well. So, there we go. Now, here's a great thing. At the end of the webinar, we're going to make a gift available to you, and it's called The Keys to Successful Consulting. It's a wonderful consultant's manual that we provide to our consultants prior to them coming on to our training courses, but it gives you a lot of the tools that and a lot of the attributes that you need to learn, that you need to know before you get involved in this industry. It talks about, how to set up your consulting business. It gives you, in other words, the nuts and the bolts. So we're going to send that to you absolutely free of charge at the end, and you'll learn how you can get it. So there we go. Now, here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to look at how I created a consulting deal that personally made me £35 million. Made a client, I wish it had, 35 million, and how my client then paid me 1.27 million for doing that. So I'm going to tell you how I did it and how I made that amount of money. Now, just to prove the point, I'm then going to tell you how a few people, including Carl Allen, also made very large sums of money as well. And he made that with a Porsche dealership and others, and was actually given a Porsche Cayenne as a part payment. And it's an amusing story, and but it's also very inspirational, as you will find out. We're also going to look at how to get hordes of prospective clients, people that actually raise their hands to let you know that they're interested. And then, they call you up and you get to talk to them about what you can do for them. Now, also, I want to deliver some real value that you can go out and use, and give you an insight into how consultants like Carl and George and myself and many others work in order to provide this real value, gobsmacking stuff, wow stuff, if you will, to clients. Plus, some tremendous fast cash techniques. These are techniques that I'm going to show you that will get the tills of your clients ringing longer, louder, and a lot more often as well. And these are things that within a single day or a single shift can add money to the bottom lines of clients. And I'm going to tell you how we go about doing that. So some real valuable techniques there. Going to tell you why selling your time is totally stupid, and why instead of that you've got to sell results. And that's how we make the big money. And plus, I'm going to give you some magic words that will change your fortunes in doing just this, in selling results rather than time. I want to speak to you also about the biggest challenges that businesses have and why they want you to fix those problems, and how indeed you can solve it and implement some strategies and indeed a whole program, a system that will give them exactly what they want. And that's, more customers, more money, and indeed more revenue, that is, and indeed more profits as well. But there's more. One of the big things I want to talk about is how to position yourself as the expert, the authority, and the seasoned professional, regardless, of course, of your level of experience or expertise. And in doing that, raise yourself up, raise the bar, so that people are coming to you rather than you going to them. And there's a real knack to this, but you've got to know how. I'm gonna show you how you can go about doing that. And plus, peppered throughout all of this, we're going to cover a whole host of other ideas and tips, techniques, concepts, and the like. So I'm hoping that you're going to walk away from here really with some great stuff. But let me, just so that you're aware, let me tell you a little bit about myself, just in case you don't know me, and I'm presuming perhaps a lot of you don't. And I don't say any of this to try to impress you. Quite frankly, it impresses me what's occurred. But I've taken 3 businesses from nothing to multi-million-pound ventures, and each of those in less than 12 months. And I did that without any formal business training. Matter of fact, I left school at 15. No O-levels, GCEs, CSEs, GCSEs, degrees, any of that stuff. And I learned it as I went along. And the reason I'm telling you that is because if I can do it, then, and many others can do it who have also been in a similar position, you can do it too. As a consultant, as I mentioned before, I made one of my clients over £35 million from zero by creating a separate entity for them. I'm going to talk about this in a little while, and got a consulting fee of over 1.27 million. And I'm going to go into a bit of detail how I did that very soon. I've been featured on TV, radio. I've been in lots of publications, newspapers, both here and overseas. I was featured in The Guardian on, they did a double-page spread on serial entrepreneurs, as they called me. I've been in the Daily Express, the Scotsman, the Daily Mail, many local newspapers, the Financial Times, the FT, the Australian Financial Review, a magazine called Wealth Creator, Success Magazine, Marketing Magazine, and many others as well. The other thing I've done is that I used to provide comment in the Sunday Times business section on small and medium-sized business matters, and I was a regular commentator and expert, their words, not mine, for that. So, done quite a lot in that regard. I'm also author of quite a lot of manuals and books, most of which, nearly all of which, are proprietary manuals and books. In other words, are only available to Alchemy consultants when they come on one of our courses. But I do have a book out there which is called Out of the Box Marketing. It's available on Amazon, as well as they say, all good booksellers. I'm not trying to push that, just letting you know. I've also, just so you know, and some of you might have seen me, appeared on the UK's Channel 4 show, How the Other Half Live. And I was approached originally to do The Secret Millionaire that I'm sure you've heard about. And they came out, they did a bit of a recce, and they did some test shots around my house and the family, and then asked instead, look, we've got this show called How the Other Half Live, where it's a wealthy family sponsoring a poor family. And would you like to appear in that? So, of course, I asked them, well, who's going to be the wealthy family? And, of course, they laughed at that. So I was in there as the philanthropic millionaire, and we supported them. If you're interested in seeing that, it is on YouTube. You just go onto YouTube, type in How the Other Half Live, and it's season 2, episode 1. It's also on the Alchemy website, which is alchemy-network.com, and you click the button at the top that says David Abingdon, and it's there. I'm the founder and CEO of the Alchemy Network, which is why I'm talking to you now. And we are an international consulting organization, as I'm sure that you're aware, if you've been onto any of our sites and know anything about us. So there you go. That's who I am. And as I said, you know, I'm not telling you all that to be boastful. I'm just telling it so that you know who I am, where I come from, and what gives me the right, if you like, to sit here and tell you all of this stuff. And really, it's because I've been there and I've done it. And I think that speaks for itself. So here we go. Let's get started. So how I made 1.27 million and how you can do it too. Frankly, it was an accident. What happened was, in my initial negotiations with a company that I was about to do some consulting with, they just wanted to pay me a retainer. Now, we're talking 1996 here, so it's a while ago. What's that, 17, 18 years ago. I was with them for 2.5 years. But they wanted to pay me $10,000 a month. I actually got a golden handshake when I joined them of 10,000 as well. And even by today's standards, that's not bad. But I wasn't happy with that. I could see that I could make them a lot of money. And I thought I deserve a lot more than this. Their response to that was, well, we can't pay you any more. We're not going to pay you any more than that retainer. You know, how would it look to the board and everybody else? And straight away, and just shooting from the hip, so to speak, I said, well, I tell you what, give me a percentage of everything that comes in, everything that comes in through my efforts. Now, this was easy to prove because my job as a consultant or contractor for them was to set up a whole new operation and get the thing going. And using the expertise and the tools, some of the tools that you can see today, and indeed the systems, you'll see how I did it. But when I put that to them, I said, look, give me a percentage. They agreed. They readily agreed and said, okay, yeah, we can do that because it'll work as an incentive and, you know, etc. And that's exactly what happened. And 2.5 years later, I was making every month a lot of money. And some say I was making more than the board of directors of that company combined. So it was a lot. I also actually got a big payoff too, which isn't added into that 1.27 million because it was paid somewhat confidentially. But there you go. So that's how I did it. And it was all about what we're going to talk about later, and that is not selling time. But it started as an accident. And that accident has become a way of life. And it's certainly a way of life for our consultants. So if you're wondering how to do it, this is why. But we're going to talk some more about how you can put this into action in a little while. Now, Carl Allen, one of our consultants, made a fortune as well. And he got a free Porsche Cayenne. So I'd like to tell you about how he did it. And as you can see on your screen here, he's made in the last 36 months or so, £1.1 million in fee income. But one of his first clients, after he joined us and came off the course, was a Porsche dealership. And he was in there because he was buying a Porsche and we all like to buy a Porsche, but he landed a couple of clients, and the future was looking bright. He hadn't been with us very long. But when he went to buy that Porsche, he noticed a few things within that dealership that he thought were lacking. Now, one thing that you learn in the kind of business consulting that we do is your powers of observation increase dramatically. And the reason is that you start to see the things that are wrong in a lot of these businesses. And more importantly, and we're going to talk about this as well, how you can correct them. And Carl's radar for this was certainly very high when he went to that dealership. So much so that he bought a Porsche, and he sent them a letter thanking them as a customer, and he sent the letter to the managing director of the dealership. And in that letter, he also pointed out what he felt was some of the shortfalls. And he invited them to call him, and he would come in and talk about it, and more importantly, what they could do with it. What they could do with it sounds a bit rude, that, doesn't it? What they could do with it, what they could do with their dealership to make up these shortfalls and actually leverage what they have some more. And he got a phone call. He went in and he sat with the managing director, and he went through some of the points, some of the things that they weren't doing. They were missing all sorts of upsells, cross sells. They weren't leveraging their customers. Furthermore, he pointed out to them what kind of customers they were getting coming in. Now, it's not as if they didn't know this. They knew that people buying Porsches were fairly wealthy people in the main. But he said to them, look, there's a lot more things that you can do here to get more money, to dig deeper into their pockets. And he said to them, look, these are all the things that you didn't offer me that I would have bought and indeed asked for them instead. Think of how many customers that you're serving and selling to every week, every month, that if I'm typical of those, you're missing out on all this money. In other words, you're leaving money in the pockets of your customers that they actually would spend if you put it to them in a way that would make them want to buy more. So he did that, and he went through it with them, and they said, fine, okay, look, this sounds tremendous. Can you do this for us? To which he responded, yes. And 3 months later, as part payment for what he'd done, because he took a percentage, he earned a lot of money, but they said, look, will you take a Porsche Cayenne as part payment, which he was delighted to take. And I think he gave that was his second Porsche, so he gave it to his wife. Now, what you don't know about this story is about 9 months later, he got yet another Porsche out of them. So he did rather well. And he took them from a very average Porsche dealership to one of the top Porsche dealerships. And that's because he looked at what they weren't doing. And that's where the eye for observation comes in. You got to look at what they're not doing. So he did very well with that. And you're going to see some of the tools in that he used. But it was all about that letter that he sent out, the letter that got the attention of the Porsche dealership. And it's a letter that we give out on our courses so that other people can use it too. Now, here's another great story. George Stamatakis, who's based in, he's one of our Melbourne consultants, over a 2-week period, not long after he left the course, gained 10 clients. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about how he did that when we get onto client generation so that you can do this kind of thing too. In the last 12 months, from some of those clients, he's made $1.2 million. And he's done that by leveraging his relationship with those clients. Obviously, he certainly doesn't sell time. Even though he gets a retainer from these, he also sells performance, and that's how he's been able to make that money. But George has put himself into a position where his clients have also either offered him equity or he's exchanged equity for lower retainer fees. And he is now an equity partner and director in 6 of these companies that he's working with. Now, It's not unusual for many of our consultants to be offered directorships, non-exec or executive, and certainly equity in the companies they work with. Because frankly, when you start to do some of this stuff that I'm going to show to you, a lot of these clients, a lot of your clients will wonder what the hell they did before. Many of them don't know this stuff. And that's because they're too busy in their business trying to get their business to perform. They don't have time to think about some of these aspects, such as how to go about getting more clients and how to sell more to them and how to retain them longer. So we're going to talk about that too. So that's George. And just so you know, oops, I think I've done it again. I created a slide where I shouldn't have done. Just so you know, there's a lot more success stories too. And I'm not sure that this is, there we go. It's on your screen now. There's a lot more success stories too that we have of lots of people around the globe from all the different countries, but certainly including the UK, Ireland, and Europe, that are doing extraordinarily well. I'll never get that word out quite right out of this. Okay, so how do you get clients? How do you get prospective clients by the dozen? And how do you get them to come to you? We have a whole host of client generation techniques. And as you can see, I've just put together very quickly a bit of a list here. And these are some of the things that we do. Things like lumpy mail. Rather than flat mail, we send out lumpy mail. In other words, letters that have got something in them. And I don't mean a pen because, as you know, a lot of the charities do that. I'm talking about something a bit more imaginative than that. For instance, one of my associates used to send out, and I did this myself, and I was told to stop by the post office, used to send out a couple of Panadol tablets stuck to the top of an envelope. Stuck to the top of a letter. And rather than it saying, Dear John or Dear Mr. Jones, it just had a headline at the top. Just below the Panadol that he'd stuck, the paracetamol that he'd stuck to the top, John, I can take away your biggest headache. And that would be a big, bold headline. Then under that, he would say, John, why have I sent you 2 paracetamols? Well, the answer is this. Number one, I wanted to get your attention. So, he's being honest there. He's showing that it's an attention-getting technique, and that's what we have to do first. And he said, number two, because I really can take away your biggest headache, and that is your business headache. Getting more customers and getting more money into your business and more money on the bottom line. Then he explained what he did and so on. And from that, he would get some response. But he'd send a second letter out then, another lumpy mail, and on the top of this one, he might have, he did several things, and we've done them too, stuck, say, a Lego brick. And the headline this time, to all these people that didn't respond to his first one, would be, does your business need rebuilding? Or anything like that that relates the business to the thing that you stuck to the top. And then he went on to say, why have I sent you a Lego brick? Because, number two, because I can really help you rebuild your business, and went on to say what he did. And if he didn't get a response to that one, and get this, he'd send them a plastic fork stuck to the top of the letter, a plastic fork. And the headline this time was, don't let me have to come after you with the knife. And then he'd go on to explain all of that. So, of course, he'd get a lot of laughs from that, and I'm sure a couple of people were offended, but hey, we're not going to please everybody. But that's what we call a farming technique, and we use that. We've got something called the alchemy bait system, number 2 there. There's not time to go through all of these, but I certainly want to cover a few of them, which is a way of using advertising, but in a totally different way. It's a way of getting 30, 40, 50,000 pounds worth of advertising for just a couple of hundred. And we use that. I'm not going to go into detail with some of these because they quite frankly, they are proprietary, but I am going to tell you about a few others, such as professional affinities. One of the things that you can do is form an affinity with a professional such as an accountant. If you can get referrals from an accountant, you never have to worry about where your clients are going to come across, where your clients are going to come from again. And some of these professionals, you might want to, some of these accountants, you might be working on a split basis where you're paying them a fee for that. But believe you me, it's well worth it. It's something I've done, and many of our consultants have and do now. Another way of doing something there is actually working with them is provide a seminar for their clients, and they all get invited along for free, and you get to tell them what you can do in an educational seminar for them, and indeed give them some tips and techniques, just like what I'm doing now, about how they can do it for themselves too. But here's the funny thing: you can tell people lots of great stuff, and they don't do it for themselves. And that's where you can pick up a lot of clients, and indeed we do as well. Of course, networking is very good, such as BNI and things like that. One of our guys, who's now a multimillionaire, made a lot of money simply through using networking. BNI, he met a prospect there who became a client, who then invited him into his business, and they went on to sell that business and divided up several millions between them. Telemarketing, it's okay. We've got some rather unique ways of doing that, but certainly not the best one. One of the ones that you might not suspect on here is faxing. Now, I can hear a couple of you maybe groan about that, but let me tell you, nobody does faxing anymore, or very few people. You might recall, if you're as old as I am, that there were several years ago, there were a lot of people that used to fax, and it became a real problem. And I can remember having a fax machine in one of my companies and getting really angry as my paper and my toner got used up by all this advertising. But of course, with the advent of the internet, that gradually died away. And indeed, people don't really fax anymore. And therein lies the opportunity, and let me tell you why. Most companies have still got a fax machine. We've got one downstairs here at our offices, and I've got one at home as well. And if they don't have a fax machine, what they do have is a fax number that connects to a computer with a program on it that shows any faxes. Now, this is a missed opportunity. Just a couple of months ago, I was walking down the stairs. I walked past the reception desk, and behind the reception desk is the fax machine. And I saw a piece of paper in the in tray. And I looked around and I looked at the staff down there, and I pointed. I said, "Oh, look, we've got a fax." And I walked over and I picked that fax up and I read it, and I said, "Oh, somebody's trying to sell us water coolers." And then I caught myself. Exhibiting the very behavior that most people out there exhibit when they get a fax now, because it's so unusual. It gets their attention. And if you've got a good message on there, it gains their interest. We've done extraordinarily well with this. One of our ladies sent out a few thousand faxes. And by the way, there are bureaus out there that do this for pennies for you. We've got a couple of we've got quite a lot of fax templates, but we've got a couple that are really hot. She sent one out, and she told me afterwards that she figured the bureau must have pressed the button around about 10 a.m. because at 10:15, the phone started ringing, and she was on it pretty much all day with people calling her about the fax that she sent. And indeed, half of the next day as well, and they continued to trickle in for a while. Overall, she got 44, 45, something like that, responses from people who were interested in her services. Now, I've got to tell you, it does come down to what you put on that fax. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it works, and it works extraordinarily well. And there's lots of other people that have done this too, including one of our American consultants who sent out a lady again. It's not just for the women, by the way, who sent out a fax and got 3 clients from it within a week. So incredible stuff. Of course, web marketing is very big, but you've got to know how to do it. You've got to make sure that you put response boxes in and you offer people something that they want, a special report, a book, video, whatever it is, so that they will respond. And anybody that responds to something on a website obviously is going to be pretty hot. Social media, big subject. PR and promotion. A lot of what I did to get in those newspapers, those magazines, was all about promoting myself. There's no such thing as an overnight success. It takes months or years to become an overnight success, but you can do it too. And in fact, we provide a whole bunch of articles that our people take away and they send into local newspapers with their names. Some of them rewrite them, but they act as guides, or they send them in as they are and get newspaper columns. We've had a lot of our people that have used the articles to get themselves a column in a newspaper. And as a result of getting that column in the newspaper, their names are on there and they get calls from people who want to talk to them about gaining help in their business. It's a tremendous way of doing it. Another way is speaking. And this is aligned to seminars. And that is getting up in front of an audience of people that business owners generally, and you'll find them out there because there are loads of meetings going on all the time. You get yourself invited along to get up and do a speech and talk about how they can improve their business. And we've got a little technique where we get them to line up at the end of it. Really, it's just an invitation for them to come and see you afterwards. And they do. And they literally, and I've had this happen many times when I've done it, they line up with their business cards to give you, and they say, I enjoyed this bit, or I love what you said about that, or I've heard this before, but the angle you put on it was very refreshing and good. And I'd love to know more about what you can do for my business, or they give you a problem or an issue that they're suffering at the moment, and can you help? So it's a tremendous way. Now let me tell you something else. Out there, we did a little survey about 18 months ago of how many business meetings are going on at any one time just in the southwest of England and South Wales. Now that's an area of about sort of 5.5, 6 million people. We stopped counting at just over 400. Just over 400, and it went on, but just over 400 business meetings, open business meetings, are going on at any one time in a region. But the most startling thing is that we found that less than 8% in any one month of those meetings have a speaker along. Now, bearing in mind what I've just said about getting up and speaking, and think about this, anybody that gets up and speaks is immediately regarded as an expert. Otherwise, why would they be up there? So, they get business. One of our guys in Dublin ran a seminar where he got up and spoke, of course, and he only had a small number of people there, 13 or 14, but out of that, he got 4 or 5 clients. That's how powerful this is. And you're going to need, obviously, a good speech, a good track to run on, giving valuable information. I don't want to promote ourselves overly much here, but we provide all of that. We've got several PowerPoint presentations that our people use, and training videos and all the rest of it. But this is not hard to do. People that cringe when they think about getting up speaking, it's because, they lack confidence, and confidence comes from knowledge, quite honestly. And if you've got a track to run on, such as a PowerPoint presentation that you're presenting, it's very difficult to go wrong. We all feel a bit nervous when we get it up there, but we soon get into the swing of it, particularly when you see the looks on people's faces as they're learning all this valuable stuff. So, I've got to highly recommend that. And the other one, self-funded grants. We provide grants to local businesses, which of course encourages them to come to us. So these are some of the ways that you can get yourself out there. And there are many, many more. We also have something called the Alchemy Campaign Engine. And this is provided to our folks. And it has on it all sorts of client generators. We've got animations that we send to people with their name in. We have a magazine system where people see themselves on the front page. We've got loads of stuff like that as well. But really, it's all about having some great lead generators, as I said, And then you follow through on a sequence like this in order to get clients and indeed to get those clients come to you. See, once you've got their hands up, once these people have made themselves known in some of those techniques I've just said, what you then have to do is qualify them. Why waste your time with people that are going to waste your time? Now, the way you do that is with we use a telephone fact find, but really what it is a qualifier. See, when I first got started in this business, and maybe any of you out there that are coaches and consultants can relate to this right now, many people, as I did, at the sniff of a bit of business are out there out there with a potential client sitting across the desk and pitching to them. And the problem is with that, and it's like with sales as well. The problem is with it, at the end of the half hour, 40 minutes, or however long you're there, you then get things like, well, and this is the worst one, I need to think about it. I hate that one. Or, no, just, straight out. Or, we can't afford it. Or, I need to speak to somebody else. Or any number of other objections that you feel, are going to stop you moving ahead right there and then, or indeed stop you moving ahead full stop. Think about this. Isn't it better that you know what they're going to say at the end before you even get there? You don't need to be psychic, have a crystal ball, or do the tarot cards to know this. What you need is a good qualifying questionnaire that teases out of them, not even that, directly gets out of them what their biggest problem or challenge is and how urgent is it that they get it solved right now. And you only go on those. And that means that you've sorted the wheat from the chaff out and you've got people that are hot rather than those that are not. And let's face it, what do you want to go on? You want to go on the hot ones. As one of our guys once said, using the qualifying questionnaire, they are 90 to 95% sold by the time you get there. You can only mess it up from that point on. Before we go out, we then send them a letter or email or fax. You can do any or all of these, just telling them that we're looking forward to seeing them, and indeed this is what they can expect. Here's what we're going to do at the meeting. In other words, we're telling them we're going to be running that meeting. So ask yourself this: who's in charge? Who do they see in charge? And that positions us. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a little while. It positions us as the expert. And then we do a face-to-face meeting. We do what we call an orientation, in other words, a PowerPoint presentation that takes them through some really great things that we can do. It shows them how they can put some of these techniques into place for themselves. But of course, none of them have ever got the time. So they get a lot of wows out of this. And at the end of it, we say to them, look, here's what we can do. And we pull out the client agreement and we go forward. And that's pretty much how it's done. I'm going to fill in a bit more of the details as we go on here. The thing is, once you've done that, how do you deliver real value? What are you going to do for them? Well, I'm going to show you some of this. And also, I want to share with you, as I said before, 3 amazing fast cash techniques that can make money for them really quickly. And as I said in some of the promotional stuff, make you out to be a superhero, because they just wouldn't have seen anything like this before. They might have thought about it, they might have seen it, but they've either not known how to do it or they've forgotten about it. I think it's important before we get into this that if you don't know this, then know it now. There are 2 kinds of share: market share and wallet share. Now, most businesses, and maybe you yourself, have only heard of market share before. A market share, let's just define it, is where you have the entire market is expressed as X amount, whatever X amount is, and sometimes it's called the universe. And any business out there has got a market share, however small, of a particular market, which could be just for their area, their region, nationally, internationally, whatever, or the products they're selling. They have gained, or they have a certain share of that market. And here's where it gets a little bit sort of difficult. Many business owners, what they're hoping you're going to do, what we're going to do, is expand their market share. is get them more customers. And indeed we do, and we're very good at doing that. But can you see that little line there where it says it costs 7 to 8 times more to sell to a new customer than an existing customer? And that's absolutely true. It does. And that's what they're asking us to do. It's harder and it's more expensive as well to sell to get new customers. Doesn't it make more sense to do business with people that already know you? In other words, trust and confidence is already established. And that's what we do with this. We talk to their current customers and indeed past customers as well, as I'll explain in a moment, and we look for ways of getting them to buy more. We look for ways to get them to come back more often, and that's called wallet share, digging deeper into their pockets. A great example of this is McDonald's. Think about McDonald's. Now, I don't know about you, but I go in there quite often, as my belly makes it obvious. And you'll go into there and you'll say, perhaps I'll have a quarter pounder with cheese. What do they say? Would you like fries with that? And that's what we call an upsell. Now, or a cross sell rather, because it's something out of that. You might next time go in and ask for a quarter pounder meal. And that's the burger, the fries, and the drink. And then they say, would you like to go large? Or, would you like to supersize? And that's an upsell. And for that, for an extra 30 pence in the UK, and I think 50 cents in Euroland, you get a bigger portion of fries. The burger's the same. And it's only slightly bigger. I've measured it. That's what a sad git I am. And a larger drink container, because in that drink container there's more ice and a little bit more soda. So, all told, out of that 30 pence, if that raw material wise costs them 5 pence, I would be absolutely amazed. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. 5p out of 30 pence, that's 25 pence going directly to their bottom line. But we need to cost in a couple of things. What is the cost of acquisition? Well, it's zero, because that was paid for in the initial purchase that you made of the quarter pounder meal. What is the cost of putting this into place, of putting the strategy in place? Well, think about it. How much does it cost for to get a spotty-faced teenage kid to say, would you like to go large? It doesn't cost anything. So there's no cost of acquisition. There's no cost for the strategy. So 25 pence directly to their bottom line. And indeed, I was told that McDonald's put 18% of their profitability down to the upsell, cross-sell. That's how powerful it is. And there's a lot more ways of doing it as well. Here's a few others: reviving past customers and qualifying questionnaires. Now, these are fast cash techniques. The upsell, cross-sell. Look, I've got to tell you, this is really, really powerful, because we've tested this out many times with small and medium-sized businesses, because that's the market. We'll talk about that in a moment. And very few of them are actually doing any upsell or cross-sell. And when we ask them why aren't they doing it, it's things like, well, didn't know about it, or didn't think about it, or I tried it once and it didn't work. Some of them will say, oh yeah, we tried that, we've done it. When we find out why it didn't work for them, it becomes obvious why it didn't work. And that's because, they just didn't implement it correctly. They were asking the wrong question, or try to upsell on the wrong thing, or asking too much. One of the things that you need to remember out of this is, when you walk into a business, particularly if you're walking in to get them as a client, think about what is there. Would you like fries with that? What is there? Would you like to go large? And it's not difficult to work out. Second one is reviving past customers. Now, past customers are a hidden asset. And the reason they're a hidden asset is because most people consider their past customers, the customers that no longer shop or do business with them or whatever it is, to be gone. They don't consider them at all anymore. But that's where they're missing out, because These are people that once did business with them. And we have figures that show that I think it's 64 or 65% of past customers don't do business anymore, don't buy from a client anymore, not because they've gone elsewhere or they found a better price or they got a relative in the market or they died, but because they feel taken for granted, they feel unloved, they feel that their business is going unappreciated. And so what we do, and we've got a whole bunch of letters for this, we send them out a letter on behalf of the client telling them that we haven't seen them for a while and we'd love to see them again. And we've attached a coupon to the top that gives them something off or gives them a free gift or a percentage off or whatever it is for the next 30 days. And we put the date on there and we'd love to see them back. And, we go on to say that, look, if we've offended you in the past or done anything wrong, we're so sorry. We'd love to know what it is. We'd love to correct it. But most of all, we'd love to see you again. We get a high percentage take up on that. In fact, I did this with, of all kinds of businesses, a plant hire company. Now, I'm not talking about, house plants or office plants that you have sitting on the floor or on your furniture. I'm talking about road stuff. I'm talking about JCB diggers and cement mixers and dumper trucks and pneumatic drills and all of those other things that are used by builders and landscape gardeners and all the rest of them, road companies and the lot. I did it with them. They had a lot of past customers, and that's because perhaps they weren't very good with their customers, which we also got into as well. But from that, they had 1 month where they sold more than the previous 3 months combined. And that's because we got a whole host of past customers come back in and then stay with them. They were able to successfully sell their business 6 or 7 months just after that because we lifted the game so much. That's how powerful that is. Any of these three all by themselves can help any business and help you to make a lot of money. The third one is qualifying questionnaires. I spoke about this before, but this applies to other businesses as well. And indeed, I put one in place for, of all things, a bus company in Bristol. And they were a private hire coach company as well. And we went. And this sounds unbelievable, and I know it does, but we went from converting over the phone with them 2 out of 10 to a massive, incredible 8 out of 10. So for every 10 calls prior to us putting this in place, they were getting 2 sales for every 10 calls in. After we did this, it was 8 calls out of 10, 80%, like 4 times as many. That's how powerful this is. And we put in there a whole track, a whole script that whoever answered the phone had to follow. I mean, frankly, they were just doing it so awfully before that even just saying, hi, this is so-and-so would have helped. But they were answering it in a very gruff and awful manner on the phone. So just by tidying that up, I'm sure we doubled it. But by putting the qualifying questionnaire in place, quadrupled. Absolutely amazing. So those are the things that you really need to do. Now, why is selling your time so stupid, as I said, and why should you only sell on results? And this really is the path to making a 6 and 7 figure income. And it's what I did, if you recall, with that company where I made 1.27 million. And as I mentioned before, I learned it by accident, but I've never gone back. And this is what we teach the people now. It's what I'm telling you. The problem is with selling your time is that we all have only so much time. We all, if you sell time, there's only so many hours in a week or a day or a month or whatever it is that you can sell. And even if you're charging a wonderfully big premium on your hourly rate, I mean, one of my friends is a lawyer, a solicitor, and he's senior partner for a very large company, a well-known company. He can charge up to £3,000 an hour, and he makes a lot of money. But think about it, even though it's a lot of money, that's all he's ever going to make. There's no results fee in there. Now, what many consultants and coaches do are out there selling time. I've seen it, and if you're one of these, you're probably doing it now, where you just charge an hourly, daily, whatever it is rate. And that's the problem. What you should be selling is performance, selling success, selling it on a contingency. And quite frankly, what I used to do is slap a £20 note down in front of them and say, would you give me £5 for that 20? Well, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you? And indeed, one smart ass said to me, well, yeah, hang on a minute. I'll run down to the bank and get a whole pile of fives, pull out your 20s. You see, it's like a commission. You're getting a percentage of the increase. And here's why it's attractive to them. Because you're only talking about the increase that you're going to generate for them. Not what they're making now, just the increase that you're going to make. And the way they think about it is severalfold. Number one, they've never heard that before. Number two, it affirms in their mind that you must be good. You've got a lot of confidence. Otherwise, you wouldn't do that. And we tell them that the majority of our fee is going to come from that. And indeed, it does. That's how you make a 7-fee income. And this isn't difficult to do. And so, you need to think about it as well. And here's a couple of magic words that you can use. If I could show you how to grow your business using your existing resources with me doing all of the work, would you be interested? Then you can add to that further. And would you give me a percentage of that increase that I generate? That's, folks, how easy it is. And I know you might be thinking I'm making it sound easy, but you just have to come out with a statement like this and say that you're willing to take a part of your fee as a percentage of increase as a result. And if you're using the tools, if you're using the strategies that I'm showing you here and more, you just can't fail. It's as simple as that. But, you need to know what the biggest challenge is that businesses have right now. Furthermore, it's good to know how to solve it, isn't it? We did a bit of research quite a while back. Now, this was during the good times. This was when, things were booming. This is about 6-7 years ago, where, we did an informal survey of asking businesses what is their biggest problem or challenge in their business today. And 92 point something percent of business owners gave us one of those 4 replies that you can see on your screen right now, that they were finding it difficult to get new customers. They weren't getting enough orders. There are too many competitors out there. Their profit margins are being squeezed. They just weren't making, in other words, the kind of money that they wanted to make. There is a 5th one you hear as well, and that is time. They don't have enough time. Now, it all means the same thing. And what it means is they're not getting out of this business what they want. And we're talking money here. So if that's their biggest challenge then, when times were good, what's it like now? Now, I can tell you, several of our people, a couple of those that appeared on that screen where you saw lots of photos, when they left our training course, went out there, got clients and said, I thought it was going to be harder. Now, I don't want to make it sound easy here, folks, but, nothing's easy. But they said they thought it would be harder, but it wasn't. If you're selling results, if you're talking to people about how you can help them to improve their sales, their orders, and if you're doing this in the qualifying questionnaire, like I said, or they're responding to something you've done, it is so much easier. And so businesses are out there crying out for help and assistance. If that's their biggest problem, how are you going to help them? Well, here's something that you need to know. There are 7 ways to grow a business, and we call these the Alchemy Profit Multipliers. Now, think about these as I run through them. Let's say that you're working with an office supply company or a firm of solicitors. It doesn't matter what the company is, whether it's a service or a product. They're all getting leads and inquiries every month. Or at least they should be, or they're going out of business. Now, if you were to increase the number of leads using some of the stuff we've spoken about, and indeed a whole pile more, then you are going to, by default, by definition, you're going to increase their bottom line. and their sales. And that's because if their conversion rate remains the same, if they're getting 100 leads a month and currently they're converting 20 or 30% of them, and you put in place some of these strategies or more, and you increase that to 40 or 50 leads per month, their conversion rate remains the same. You're going to increase their profitability. It's as simple as that. Number two is you could work on improving their conversion rate. We've got a whole bunch of stuff for that. But one of them is the qualifying questionnaire. Now, you improve that conversion rate. If they're getting 100 leads, they're closing 30 of them, and using the qualifying questionnaire, or one of about, I think it's 93 other things that we've got, then you're by increasing their conversion rate, you're going to increase their bottom line. Imagine if you increase both of those. Now, another way of doing it is increasing their average sales value. Just like McDonald's do when you walk in, would you like a quarter pounder with cheese? Would you like to go large? That increases the sales value. What if you could do that on their average sales by, like I said before, asking yourself, what's there? Would you like to go large? So look for ways of doing that. A fourth way is to increase profit margin. Can they outsource? Are there products and services that are currently offering that could be increased in price? What cost savings can they make? And we've got all sorts of ways of doing that. So increasing profit margin. Increasing, number 5, the number of purchases. If on average, and we have a questionnaire that works this out, and indeed you can include it on your qualifying questionnaire, how many times does the average customer buy from them per year? Then what you got to think about is how can you increase that number? And you do that by making offers, providing bonuses, or whatever. A sixth way is increasing the number of years that customers remain loyal. Now we're talking here about retention. How can we increase that? And first of all, we've got to find out how long does the average customer stay with them. And if the business has been around for, say, 10 years and they've got a couple of customers that have been that time, and they know that some customers come in, buy once, never see again, you might be able to work out from all their others that perhaps they stay around 4 years and then they lose them on average. So what can we do to keep them? VIP schemes or a whole host of other things, offers and whatever, can help. And the seventh way is more referrals from customers. This is a no-brainer, or should be, getting referrals from customers. It's all about when and how you ask, and we've got tons of techniques on these as well. Those are the 7 profit multipliers. Now, just increasing one of those is going to land your client lots more business and indeed put money in your pocket. But imagine what happens when you increase all 7. It becomes incremental. It grows exponentially. That's how powerful it can be. We have a calculator that shows all this, where we feed in their current results. We ask them what do they think we can do for them using some of the strategies and techniques that we present to them, and then we feed that in, and you should see the figure that comes out. And that's because one multiplies the other. It's very exciting and it's very powerful. And when you present that calculator, it knocks out the most hardened of skeptics. Okay, so the market for our services, for your service, is using this stuff. Really, what is your job? Well, your job should be to increase their turnover and profits. What can be more important than that? By finding new customers, that's increasing their market share, developing new markets, getting more from current customers, which is wallet share. We haven't really spoken about new markets, but perhaps another time. Produce a consistent, predictable, and profitable return on their money. That's what they want to do. Now ask yourself, what business doesn't want to do that? And you can see that the market is absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. There are 4.7 million businesses in the UK and Ireland alone. And that's just enormous. Okay, so how do you position yourself as the expert, the authority, and indeed the seasonal professional? Well, understand this. There are a lot of ways you can sabotage yourself. Here's what you shouldn't do. Have any worries, concerns, fears about your education or your credentials. So I mentioned this right at the beginning, and I don't want to dwell on it, but, I come from a fairly poor background, and I had to leave school at 15 and so on and so forth. Very sad, but we don't let that stuff affect us. And this is why you shouldn't let it affect you if you're the same. You don't need a degree or an MBA or any of that stuff to be a successful business consultant, as is evidenced by our own people. You know, I can tell you now that George and Carl don't have degrees. Actually, Carl might, but George certainly doesn't. So, you know, and a proportion, I would say, of our people do, but it's absolutely unnecessary. Another worry a lot of people have is financial status, their financial status versus their clients who might be rich, and they feel somehow intimidated by that. Well, you mustn't. And excuse me being a bit crass here, but you know, somebody once told me, if you ever feel intimidated by somebody sitting across the desk from you, imagine them, instead of sitting on a chair across the desk, imagine them sitting on a toilet. Now, funny, but I tell you, it's the great equalizer. And the other problem that people have is experience, or indeed your lack of experience. You don't need it, and I'm going to talk about that just in a moment on the next slide. The other thing is personal baggage that people carry around. You know, you don't want any of that, and displaying weakness is perhaps one of the worst ones. You know, some guy comes in to sees me and he says, "How you going, Dave?" and slaps me on the shoulder. I've never met the guy before. Immediately my back's up. But you know, it's all about ensuring that there's a certain distance. If anybody's ever been in the military, they'll know about officer distance. In other words, the way commissioned officers keep their distance and therefore respect from the soldiers. It's very important. And I don't mind, you know, if people, when I go in, are a little intimidated by me. It sounds cruel, but it works. It works because if you've done all of those, you've done the qualifying questionnaire, you've sent the letter out, you've gone along there, you are walking in as the expert, the authority, and the seasoned professional anyway, because that qualifying questionnaire and the follow-up letter is what turns it around for you. You know, it's very powerful, and it's your meeting, as you put in the letter. You've told them what you're going to do. So you're walking in. You know, if you know about transactional analysis, you'll know that there are 3 levels: parent, adult, and child. You're walking in as the parent. They're looking up to you. You do not want to be perceived as a salesperson. And I don't mean this in any disparaging manner. You know, I've been a salesman myself, but you do not want to be looked down on. You do not want to be subordinated. And if that is still apparent, then forget it and walk out. You know, in a nice way, of course. There's a good chance they'll call you back. But it's very important that when you go in there, your expertise is assumed. Now, look at this. This is out of a manual, out of a book rather, called Selling the Invisible. It's a great book. But in this book, the author says that most companies, and the people that run them, of course, who are in expert services, lawyers, doctors, and accountants, they think that their clients are buying expertise. In other words, a lot of consultants out there as well feel the same, that clients are buying expertise, and that's why you've got to have it. But in fact, most prospects for these complex services have got no way of evaluating expertise anyway, as it says here. They can't tell a good tax return or a clever motion or a perceptive diagnosis by a doctor from a bad one. But what they can tell is if the relationship is good. So in most professional services, you're not selling experience, because your experience, as he goes on to say, is assumed, because they have no intelligent way to evaluate your expertise anyway. Let me give you a little off-the-wall example of this. Do you know what the highest recorded IQ is? It's about 172, 173, which makes you wonder, doesn't it? Who the hell set the test? So, you know, it's kind of a funny way of looking at it, but they certainly don't set the test on expertise, because they don't know what is expertise. That's why your expertise is assumed when you walk in, and particularly if you've done that qualifying questionnaire and you've done that follow-up letter, you know, they're expecting the greatest answer in the world to their problems to come waltzing through their door. And there it is again, just as a reminder, you do your initial lead generation. That gets them to put their hands up. They phone you, or you phone them back on it using the qualifying questionnaire. You set it up, your positioning that is, by sending them out a letter that tells them, you know, what you're going to do in the meeting and how you're going to do it. So, you know, we're very, that letter is one of the big things for us. And then when you arrive, face-to-face meeting, these people are already set up. They're 90 to 95% there. You can only mess it up. That's, folks, how it works. So we've covered a lot of stuff here so far. And there's a little bit more that I want to tell you as well. But we've covered all these things that you can see on the screen right now. But the point of all of this, and I mean this absolutely sincerely, sound like Huey Green, is that you can do it as well. You can do all of this. Some of the knowledge here, might be enough for you. But if you want more, if you don't want to reinvent the wheel, here's how that you can get all of the training, and you can get a complete suite of tools, templates, presentations, software, client generators, manuals, worksheets, forms, and everything else. And I'm kind of reading it here, that you need to be successful. But I'm absolutely sincere about this. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. As I say, I've given you enough information on here, I am sure, because we've had feedback on this before, for you to really be able to understand what it is we do and, what it is that people are doing wrong out there. But you can get all of this stuff, a complete business in a box, if you will, and at a very low cost. Look, what we provide is in a new level that we've just launched, a consultant level, is 4 days of very intensive classroom training. And that's with me and our other Alchemy trainers. You also get a consulting license with membership of the network and full personal support. We will sit with you. We will take you through these things. And in that support, you've got telephone helplines, you've got our intranet, you've got access to a whole bunch of software, and you've got access to us as well. And you get all the consulting manuals, the tools, the templates, and all the other stuff that I've been talking about as well. We'll give you a complete success formula for doing this. And that CD, that DVD you see on there is absolutely cram bang full of, these presentations, spreadsheets, forms, worksheets, and all the other things. And the good news is that you can change the logo. We allow you to take our logo off and to put your logo on there, so you can go out there under your own name. And that's why I say it's a business in a box, and why it's so good for those of you that are already in this business, where you can use all of this stuff. And as I had some feedback the other day when we ran this last week, one guy said, look, that's what it is for me. He's out there doing it now, but he's not doing it as well as he can, and he doesn't have all this stuff. So, you can have it. Now, in the 4 days of intensive training, we'll take you through our Nova. That's what we call it, step-by-step consulting system. You can see a picture of the 3 volumes there. And what it does is that this provides you with a track. It gives you the guidelines in a modular way to take your clients through our complete business acceleration process. And right off the bat, what we're looking to do is to put fast cash techniques in place to give you a real boost in their eyes, and for them to say, wow, this is amazing. And of course, you're looking for your percentage out of that. But, we then start taking them through piece by piece, step by step, a paint by numbers approach to build their business, so that it's not a flash in the pan. They're going to have a business when we complete this. And we're looking at a 6 to 12 month, even several years relationship. Because by the time you've settled in there and you got your feet under the table, as I said before, they wonder how they managed without you. And that's when the bribery starts coming out of offering you equity and offering you directorships and all the like. It is that good. You get our suite of client generation systems, all the things I mentioned before. Here's some of them down here, including the Campaign Engine software suite, which you're able to load up upload the names and addresses of prospective clients and send them out a whole bunch of stuff. But we've even got a way of you getting all of these addresses as well to load in. But you can use it on a one-by-one basis too. If that sounds a bit vague, I do apologize, but it's software, and it's sort of obvious once you go in. But what it is, it's a very unusual, a very unique, a very powerful way of getting clients to go, wow, I want to speak to the person that sent me this. We also have a few things I didn't mention. We have our own magazine, and I do wish I'd have put a picture of it on here now, but I haven't, which is called Entrepreneur Success. And it's a glossy magazine. It looks the part, feels the part, and is the part. And it's written by our consultants. They go out and they interview businesses, and in the act of doing that and adding them to the magazine, online and offline, and in doing that, of course, they find out all about the businesses, are able to offer bits of advice as they're interviewing them. And who doesn't want to be interviewed and be put into a magazine? So we do that, and they get clients as a result. Again, you're set up as the expert. We have something called the directory system, which is a slam bam or slam down technique of getting clients. But it's not for everybody. The faxing system I mentioned, networking, PR and promotion, speaking, and lots more. We take you through that and give you all of the tools, all of the templates, the letters, the forms that you need for doing those things. The support I mentioned, we have our Achiever resource intranet, which has a forum as well where you can exchange ideas and thoughts with consultants around the globe. There's the Alchemy hotlines where you can phone us here and speak to me and to others as well about issues or problems or advice, of course, that you need. Also, we have continuous professional training days. We run those every few months. Everybody's invited along, and we have speakers, we have new services, or we have new takes on things. And it's a great opportunity to meet everybody else. We normally run them with the Alchemist meetings that are underneath as well, where, it becomes a bit of a networking session and people are patting each other on the back. I mentioned the magazine. The monthly conference calls we have as well, which are international. In there as well, are coaching calls for you if you require it. Updates, which are continuous. You get your own email address and diploma, use of the kite mark, and it's underlined because it doesn't recognize the word, and accreditation as well. So all the tools, the suite of manuals, and by the way, the manuals, you got 3 Nova manuals, you got the Advanced Client Generation Manual, Client Conversion Manual, Operations Manual, and we have something which is wonderful. It's an encyclopedia, really, called Specific Industry Strategies Guide, and in there are 100, 120 different kinds of industries where we've worked with them and the things that we've done that you can use as a kind of lazy consultant's guide to consulting. In other words, you can go in there and pick up lots of great ideas that you can give to prospects as kind of, breadcrumbs or whatever, and which makes them think, wow, this guy really knows what or girl knows what he's talking about. There's also the things on the course, the handouts, the confidential business audit, because one of the first things we do when we get a client is the first meeting we have after they've signed and they've paid us and whatever is the audit. The audit, as you can see a picture of the front cover of it on there, is a 16-page document that a 16-page document that you use to literally audit their business. But you're auditing it from a business and marketing standpoint rather than a financial one. And it takes 4 to 5 hours to do. But at the end of that, you have got a deep insight into their business. We say to the business owners, look, first meeting we're going to run is the audit. It's an exciting thing. It's going to give you a lot of wows, and you're going to understand your business a lot more, because they do. They start to join the dots of the questions, and you can see the lights go on as we're doing this. There's something else it does as well, though, and that is it highlights the smart decision they made in hiring you, because there's 35 to 25% of the questions they can't answer, and they're embarrassed because they know that they should be able to answer. And therefore, if you're asking the questions, well, you obviously know this stuff. So the audit is a wonderful tool. Some of our people use this as a standalone product by providing a report that we have afterwards as well. And then there's comparisons and other resources that we hand out. And the DVD, that's what's on here now. It's got all the client generation templates, the letters, Carl's Porsche letter, faxes, presentations, worksheets, the lot. All the Nova consulting tools. And by the way, with Nova, as well as the manual, there is a client PowerPoint training platform as well that you use to take them through Nova right in front of them, either on your laptop or on an iPad. Because, oh yes, all of this stuff is on iPad as well. You get the business growth calculator that I mentioned earlier that just knocks people out, particularly if they're skeptics, and everything else too. The sheer volume of this is quite incredible. But here's the wonderful thing, and I want to tell you this because this is how much we mean it. So confident are we in what we do that, everybody gets a 100% money back guarantee. In other words, if at the end of the course you can't see how you can succeed in this business, in this profession, in this career, then we will give you your money back. And as it says there, no quibble, no messing, no fuss. In all the years I've been doing this, we've only had 2 people that have asked for their money back. And there was a 3rd person we asked to leave because they weren't what we thought they were. But the point is this, is that we don't do this. We don't offer a money back guarantee unless we know that you're going to walk out of there with an extremely valuable toolkit and a system for making a 6 and 7 figure income in this business. Now, I've got something rather special to offer you right now, and I just want to go through this, and then we're pretty done. Now, you probably know that the cost, or those of you that have seen us before, the cost for somebody to join, but don't switch off here because this isn't what we're talking about. For a senior partner is £30,000 to join. Senior consultant was £20,000. Now, we are changing things because the world economy the way it is, and because of the demand that we get a lot of people that come to us but just can't afford this amount. We've introduced a new consulting level at a much lower entry investment, and it is really a springboard for you to go on and become a partner should you want. What this does, it gets you out there and it gives you all the essential stuff that you need in the training to get going in this wonderful profession. And so we're offering the training as a consultant for £6,997. But wait, as the Americans say. Now, there is a monthly membership and support fee of just £97 a month as well. But there's a big but to all of this, or at least to that initial amount. Provided that you can act fast, then you can join and get everything that we're talking on here at a much lower cost and be up and running for the new year. We've got a course that starts on Friday, the 14th of December. It starts at 10 a.m. and it finishes on Monday, the 17th of December at 4 p.m. So it's a long weekend. Now it's cram bang full and full of content. It's not cram bang full of people, though. We don't have a lot of places left because we ran this last week. But it's for just £4,997. And from January, it will be at £6,997. So there is a £2,000 saving here if you can act fast, because that's in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks time, whatever. There is also, just in case that's a bit difficult for you, what we want to do is get good people in and we want to help them. This is the first one of these we're going to be running, and we're really going to look after people. So we have a payment plan available, which is £2,497 down. And by the way, we take Visa and MasterCard and all that sort of stuff. And then it's £577 a month for 6 months. So the total is £5,959. So it's a little bit more than if you paid up front. In fact, we give a discount for paying up front. So that's what it is. Plus, there's one more bonus that we're going to be offering for this December course only. And I would really urge you to take notice of this because we're not going to do it again. And that is, we're going to include the deal making sessions as well, where you're going to have the opportunity to and that should say learn, but earn is good as well, discover and participate in the How to Become a Deal Maker module. If there's one thing I know, it's what you can do with all of this knowledge that we teach you and help you to succeed as a consultant. You can take it to a much, much higher level, and that is you can start doing deal making. And we'll introduce you to all of the inside track on this, how to do it yourself, how to utilize all that you have learned. And that's the very last session we run. And it's very, very powerful. So we're only going to do it on the December course. We're only offering this price on the December course as well. It includes everything that you want. And it's for, as I say, a one-off. So to summarize, you get the full consulting training. You get all the manuals, the materials, the resources, the software on this forthcoming course for £4,997. And you get the deal making modules as well. We'll take you through it on the training course. And of course, there is the installment plan available as well for all of that. Folks, if this interests you, and I hope it does, can I ask you, all you need to do is one of a couple of things. You can complete the short survey that's going to come up at the end of the webinar. So when we're finished here and I click the button that says, you know, the webinar is over, there's a survey form there. It's got just a few questions on it. Answer those and we'll get in contact with you and you can ask us questions. And though I am going to open it up for questions in a moment as well, but we'll give you everything that any other information that you need in order to make an informed decision. So complete that survey at the end, or you can call us on this number, which is, if you're in the UK, 01453 826 710. Of course, if you're in Ireland or overseas, it's +44. Get rid of the 0. I should have put this up on the screen, but never mind. +44 1453 826 710. Or indeed, you can email me personally to david@alchemy-network.com. That's david@alchemy-network.com. Now, I'm going to leave that up on the screen while I take questions. So we've got a few minutes for those. Please, folks, if you've got questions, feel free to type them in now. I've got one here from, oh, no, it's not. She's saying that, no, she has to leave the meeting, but that's fine. So if you've got questions, there is a questions box there. You just type them in and I'll read them out and answer them as best I can. So feel free to go ahead and do that right now. Question from Milan Dudia, who's asking, I hope I've pronounced that right, Milan, how many consultants do we currently have operating in the UK? We started out a few years back, and I started training people in this, just training. And so we trained a lot of folks who then went out there, and then people started asking us for support. So we turned it into a license, and we have and had people that were paying us a support fee for all the support we were giving, similar to this. And then we had people that wanted a closer relationship with us, and we put together our partner plan that we have now. But we would have in the region, I guess we've trained in the UK around about 80, 90 people in the UK, could be a bit more than that. But people actually out there calling themselves Alchemy, because many of them were just trained here, is probably in the region of about 50 or 60. Can I say to you, remember this, you only need, I don't think I mentioned this, this is not where you require lots of clients. You don't. You only need 3, 4, maybe 5 clients at the very most to make a very good living out of this. And indeed, most of those clients you work with over an extended period. You know, for me, when I made that 1.27, that was one client. George and Carl and many of the other people you saw on those photos, they have got 3, 4, 5 clients as well. That's all you need. And I've got one here from Elise Zoma, who I think we exchanged emails, Elise. What's the differences versus senior consultant, the 6-day training? Yes, we have a 6-day training course, which is actually going to 7 days, where the deal making is standard on there. We do campaign marketing. We teach you how to be a copywriter. We go through how to create seminars for yourself, for your clients. And there are several other modules on there on mentoring and various other things. So it's a much bigger training course. That's the main difference. Steve Coleman is asking, will I be tied into a contract, and if so, how long? It's an agreement rather than a contract, Steve. It's in plain English. We expect people to at least accept support for 12 months. And that means that the £97 would be paid for that period. And in that, we have, and indeed, would hope that many people would stay with us a lot longer than that. So it's just the 12 months. It's not like one of these franchise contracts where, people end up in financial ruin or any of that. We just don't go down that path. I've got a question from Kieran Moore. Same question for Ireland. I'm sorry, Kieran. I'm not sure what that question was. Steve Kapoor says, you mentioned something about clients moving away for reasons like we need to think, or we're not sure about financial problems. How can we get them to be customers? Sorry, Stephen, I don't quite understand that. After a trial period, clients moving away after a trial period. What can happen is, in order to encourage people in, we show you how to provide a guarantee as well. And that guarantee is, look, we'll work with you over the next 3 months. Here's the retainer. We're looking for a percentage as well. So we build all that in. And if at the end of 3 months, either of us want to walk away, then we will. And we put that into this simple agreement that we have. What he does, you see, is that the prospect then sees that they're not tied in for a long period of time. And it's easy for them to then make a decision. And indeed, it falls in our favor most of the time as a result. So that's what we do. And it's all in this nice agreement that we've got. And, they love it. Leona Clegg is asking, how is it possible to ensure you get accurate percentage of the increase in revenue? You put for 3 to 5 small businesses. Actually, it could be small and medium-sized businesses. They can be quite big. What we do is that we use their management accounts, which all businesses have got, on a month-by-month basis to compare the same period the year before. Now, remember, most businesses are in trouble, and most of them that you're going to be dealing with are looking to not only survive but thrive in this recession if possible. That's what we're selling. So we do a simple look at the management accounts on a month-by-month basis. I've got to say, there's got to be trust in all of this. If you feel you can't trust them, you shouldn't be there. We actually give you a checklist. And on that checklist, you're looking to have as many as 7 or 8 out of 10 yes ticks against that checklist. And you do the checklist as you're doing the telephone fact find. You're just checking it off on the form. And one of them is trust. If you don't feel you can trust them, then you shouldn't be there. There's got to be trust and confidence in the relationship. Rez Vafer is asking, would this be a UK-wide license? No, it's international. You can work where you like. Dylan Hunter, what's the Irish market like? Well, I know that it's been pretty the economy has been pretty catastrophic over there, Dylan. As a result of that, I'd say the market's pretty good. Remember, businesses that are struggling right now are an absolute target for us, for you, because when they hear how we work and what we do and you show them, they can't help but be impressed, particularly when you're saying, look, and the majority of my fee is going to come from a percentage of the increase that I'm going to generate for you. It's hard not to say no to that. Kieran Moore, a number of consultants working in Ireland. Oh, I see, Kieran. I'd say we've got about people that are still using Alchemy, we trained quite a few more than this, but they didn't come in under the Alchemy banner. We've probably got about 12 or 14 over there. But same answer for you. Remember, they're only working with 3, 4, 5 clients. And, in Ireland, I'm not sure how many businesses exactly, but there must be about 400,000, 400,000. You're only looking for 2, 3, 4 of those yourself over an extended time period. John Logan, how does the model differ from other companies, Ology, SmartStep, I'm not sure who they are, etc., who have a mature consultancy networks? Well, we've got a fairly mature one here as well, but what's different is that I certainly know that Ology is coaching. We don't do coaching, and if we do, it's a byproduct of what we do. We're there. We call ourselves consultants, but for the majority of people, because of the positioning, they see us as mentors. They see us as joint venturers, and that's really important. And these other companies, Ology, etc., they're not offering a percentage or they certainly weren't offering a contingency fee. So, you're out there doing something that other people aren't doing. And we certainly, the model that we use is very different to a coaching model. We're kind of running out here. I'll take one more, Stephen Kapoor, because we need to finish. I'm presently consulting with around 12 clients. The problem is convincing the traditional old-fashioned family-run business how to tap them. Well, we show you how to do that, but quite frankly, if you're already working with them, and you've got something set up with them, it's going to be rather hard to change midstream to something else. What you're better off is acquiring new knowledge, new tools, new strategies that you can offer them, or find new clients, and go in on the percentage basis. But you can certainly try going back to them and saying, look, here's what I want to do with you. Certainly, if you join us, is go back and we can show you how to them and say, look, I want to offer you something that I think you're going to enjoy, and that is I've got a whole bunch of new stuff that I want to take you through that I think after you see, you're going to see how it's going to grow your business more. And what I'm prepared to do is take, in the main, a percentage of the increase that I generate for you. And it's got to invoke confidence in them. Folks, that's about all we've got time for, because I am aware that we are running out of time. We've gone over a little bit. So I'd like to leave it there. Feel free to email me with questions, though, if you want, or phone me. Now, as I said, when we go off here, it's going to leave you with the survey, and we'll send the survey out. Answer that, and we'll get in touch and answer questions, or call us or email us. Can I once again thank you very much. Quick one popped up. Does it work in France? Yes, it does. It works everywhere because businesses are businesses. Let me thank you very much for being here today and for your time out. And I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you're able to take away with you a whole bunch of stuff, whether you join us or not. But we'd love to hear from you. And can I wish you all a very good day? And I'm going to stop this. I'll stop the webinar now, and you'll see the survey form when we do so. Again, thanks a lot, folks. Have a great day.